CataractCoach.com, podcast series, episode number 82 with Dr. Audrey Rostov, navigating the different periods of our careers and changing gears, and also combining your practice with global teaching. Welcome back to our Cataract Coach podcast. And today I have a very special guest, and that is Dr. Audrey Rostov. Now, you've seen her name is Tally Rostov, but that's a whole other story, which we'll get into. Anyway, welcome to our podcast. Today we're going to talk about everything ophthalmology, but the stuff that in our 30s and 40s we didn't know about transitions and changing gears in practice and in life. So, Audrey, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you so much, Uday. It is just such a pleasure, and I'm so honored to be on this and to have this conversation with you. It's always lovely to sit down with friends and have a chat, and if we can impart some knowledge to other people that they find useful, all the better.
Right. I think we went through our 30s and 40s in ophthalmology and had a great time, but you're a little bit of wool over our eyes. Didn't realize what was coming and how things would change and practice transitions. Now, speaking of change, even your name. So there is no hyphen in your name.
There is no hyphen in my name. No, when I was got my medical degree and my first did residency and fellowship, I was known as Tally, and then I got married. And everybody just loves to hyphenate my name for me, but it's actually, I have Audrey Tally Rostov. There's no hyphen, there hasn't been, but people like a number of my publications still have it. I've tried to get rid of that hyphen. It doesn't always work. And whatever, I'm still the same Audrey.
I love it. I just roll with it. It's easier.
Absolutely. You have to be.
What was your path in ophthalmology?
I did my residency at WashU in St. Louis, and then I did a fellowship with Dick Lindstrom in Minnesota with Minnesota Eye, which was amazing.
Yeah.
Is a mentor and friend, and he continues to mentor me even today, which is
for so many of us young ophthalmologists. Yeah, he's kind of had that very profound impact on an entire generation of ophthalmologists.
Yeah, he really has. He's an amazing person and such a great role model, no matter what it is, ophthalmology, life in general. When I'm having an existential crisis of sorts and I message him or email him, he always makes time for me. And we'll, have a sit down and have a chat. And then it's so wonderful to have one of those people. Vance Thompson is actually another for me who I know I can call. I can, pour my heart out, be real, tell them what's really going on. And then they just help to help you focus on the right path. And even though you may know what that right path is, it's really helpful to bounce things off of somebody else and to have someone with a few years more experience than you do help and be a sounding board and offer some wisdom.
Yeah, so true. We've learned so much from that generation. So it's kind of what I want to impart with the Cataract Coach podcast. So when we have people on, we really have an audience geared to ophthalmologists, typically in the 30s and 40s is probably our biggest age group. And so there's so much that I did wrong. There's so many hard lessons that if I can impart just a little wisdom and make your life just a little easier, so worth it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, recently I had a change in practice. I was with the same practice for about a little over 25 years.
Wow.
And I was a partner in a large group practice. I built the cornea, refractive cataract and refractive surgery parts of that practice. And then things changed. There were some just changes in direction of the practice and a change in management style. And I decided that it really wasn't the direction that I was going in, or the direction I've always been going in. And I decided that the best, given, sorting out my different options, that the best thing to do was really to leave and to start my own solo practice. And I'm in the midst of that. For the first time in my life, I've taken a sabbatical year. I don't know if you know, I do a lot of global health work. And so I work a lot with Cure Blindness Project.
Mhm.
I was with a group called Sight Life and also working with what used to be called HCP, Himalayan Cataract Project. They have since merged, and the new name is Cure Blindness Project. And I've just had the joy and pleasure of working with great friends and colleagues like Jeff Tabin and Matt Oliva, and done a lot of work in India, Nepal, and Sub-Saharan Africa. And
Wow,
this,
that sounds fantastic.
yeah, it's been really, really fun. It's been a fun journey. I love it. Like, I really, truly love my global work. There's so much work to be done. I do a lot of work training ophthalmologists in their own communities, helping to build curricula. And it's really, really important. Also, training mid-level practitioners like optometrists and ophthalmic nurses is another thing that we're doing. And I usually do that. I go on about 2 trips a year and have been for about the last 15 years, almost 15 years now. But I took this year to do a little bit more of that. And it's been just a great adventure this year. I've been to a lot of different countries. I've just seen a lot of different things. I've also attended a lot of international meetings and taken, again, this year as my sabbatical year. And I'm getting ready to move into my solo private practice in an era of consolidation. I'm going out on my own and doing a cornea, cataract, and refractive practice here in the Seattle area. My new practice is Bellevue Precision Vision, and I should be up and running in about February of 2025. So we'll say Q1 of 2025.
That is fantastic. I
Yeah.
think that is great. I love to see that changing of the gears. And that's all. You also bring up a good point that, sometimes you got to shift gears. You got to change things up, especially if the environment changes. So I did half-time private practice, half-time academics since the year 2000. And then after 22 years, 2 years ago, I retired from the academic stuff because things changed and wasn't the same anymore. It's not what I wanted. And the easier way for me was just to proudly bow out, pass the baton to someone else, and say, hey, it's time for something different.
I think that's such a good point, is that for younger ophthalmologists, is that you don't have to feel stuck. I
Right.
say you don't have to feel stuck. If something isn't working for you, of course, give it a go, and see if there's things that you can modify, because clearly it's easier, right,
Sure.
to modify and make things work. It's really like a marriage. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a long-term relationship. And actually, Dick Lindstrom told me that. He said, your practice is like a marriage. And you, of course, want to make things work, and that would be the best. But at some point, if things are not working, then it's okay, right? It's okay to say, this partnership isn't working, and I need to do something else, and to do that as gracefully as possible, if possible. But that it's okay. It doesn't mean that you failed. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It doesn't mean any of those things. And it's not too late to change.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
if you still have, if there's, Dick had said to me, you have about 40 plus years as a career as an ophthalmologist. And so if you're talking about you still have a 10-year runway or so, then do it.
Enjoy it. Nah, that's such great advice. Yeah, I struggled with, there was new administration who want to make big changes. I still love the patients. I still love the surgery. I still love the nurses. I still love the working with the residents. But the other parts of it it wasn't great anymore. And so I tried to resist it. And then I finally talked to my late father, who passed recently, and his advice was, he says, just change gears. He says, why don't you go ask what the earliest age you can take your retirement or your pension is? So I said, I went and asked, and they said, it's 52. And I said, I just so happen to be 52. And here with that, I wish to retire. And so it was very liberating. At first, change is scary.
Mhm.
I was a little scared, but then, wow, now I look back and I think, I had to do that. This is so much better.
It's just such a freeing feeling, I think, once you make the decision. I think when it comes to times where there's indecision and you're not sure of what path to go on or which direction to go, and then once you actually make a decision and it's the right decision, you know it because you just have, you're de-stressed, you have that sense of relief, and then a newfound sense of excitement for your next chapter.
Yeah, the next challenge for sure.
And I think it's, as ophthalmologists, I mean, we have to be flexible, right? You have to be, well, it helps to be flexible. You don't have to be flexible, but it helps to be flexible. It helps to think in an innovative way. And I think that it's helpful. So as we get older, right, to just find new ways of thinking, right? New challenges, new ways to get your brain to work. And that's really exciting, right? It's like learning a new sport or something,
Sure.
or taking up a new challenge. And so, for me now, my new challenge is, okay, I've got to set up a practice all by myself. And I'm learning about, EHR systems and building a website and designing a logo and credentialing for insurance companies. On and on and on. There's so many things. And one really cool thing is that I actually have asked some of my younger colleagues who have done this, we're only in practice a few years and are starting brand new in their practices. And one of them, Brian Schaefer, he's amazing. He's a young ophthalmologist. He has only been in practice a few years. He was with a group, it didn't work out, so he decided he was going to do his own thing. And I visited his practice. He was in practice for 8 months. And what a great resource. He does cornea, cataract, refractive, and what a great resource. And so he said, hey, here's the IT, this is what I'm doing for my EHR, and this is how I'm doing my billing, and this is how I'm doing this. And he was just a tremendous resource and so willing to share his information and, compared business plans, things like that. That was extremely helpful and really fun, right? Because he looked to me as a mentor for cases and, help with complex patients and all of that. And then in return, I also looked to him for help just with the bare bones of setting up a solo small practice in 2024, right? Which is very, very different from the year 1999 or 2000, or when, in the late 90s or early 2000s. Setting up a practice then looks very different from setting up a practice today.
Right.
It's fun to be able to learn from each other, and when the mentee becomes the mentor.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of fun. I feel like we're so blessed, truly, to have so many wonderful colleagues in ophthalmology, and that there's people you can always reach out to no matter what. You can reach out to them with a clinical problem, with a practice problem or issue, something to run by, and to be able to do that in a safe space, right? A non-judgmental space is so important. And, and to also model that and also be that person, I think.
Yeah.
And, let go of your ego, right? We're all smart. We made it this far, right? We all went to medical school. We all got into the most competitive, program, blah, blah, blah. Like, who cares, right? We've all done that. So what? But then it's the human side of humility, really, I think. Hubris and, humility, to be able to reach out to someone or allow someone to feel safe to reach out to you, and not to be judged and not to be judgmental for someone, so that you can help each other through some difficult times, because that could be you on the other end, right?
For sure.
Sometimes it has been.
Yeah. That's true. We all have our ups and downs there. And it is very collaborative. I really like the ophthalmology is like a small family.
Mm-hmm.
It's
It
fun
is.
to help each other for sure. And we learn so much, especially setting up practice is no joke, but it's certainly doable for all the young ophthalmologists. Because again, our viewers and listeners skew 30s to 40s. You can definitely do it. And if you're in your first job and you love it, that's great. But sometimes your first job is like your first girlfriend or boyfriend. They're great and all, but may not be the one forever. And that's okay too. Just,
Exactly.
do what you got to do.
And each experience prepares you for the next one.
Right.
I think that's another thing, is that each experience, so say you're in a practice for a few years and at first you thought, okay, yeah, I really love this, I'm getting busy, great. And then a few years in, maybe not so much. Maybe some of the promises that were there changed, or the management changed, or you're in an academic practice and things changed, or whatever it is, or you're bored, right? Or you're just not feeling fulfilled there. And your vision for what you want to do, when you first start, 5 years in, 10 years in, may look really different at that point in time, and that's okay. But then rather than wallowing and having that angst about, oh no, I'm stuck, because you could then get stuck for 5, 10, 20 years. And
Get
what's
stagnant.
that? Yeah,
Right.
is that it's okay to realize that and to make a change. It's not too late to make a change. And if you're miserable, then life's way too short. And you just to
So
make a
yeah.
change, right?
Yeah. I mean, I approach life. It's interesting. Something about me was hitting the magic 50, hitting 50. Outlook kind of changed. I'm like, wait a minute, for sure I'm on the second half of life by this point. And certainly second half of the career. For a 40-year career, most of us, I finished residency, I was 30, 31. Yeah, that's all right. You're 20 years in and maybe another 20 to go. So it's like it gives you pause. You
It
think a little differently.
You do. And I think the 30s and 40s are a time where it's like go, 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 and you're making your mark, and what's the next thing? And you're having to prove yourself both clinically and surgically, and there's so much of that. That it's important to remember to take a pause every so often, and to allow truly, I mean, what now is over called as work-life balance. And also, we talked about this at our mentorship meeting, work balance and work-life balance, and decide what it is that you want. What kind of practice do you want? What do you want to do with your time? And
So true.
to do that, and really that I think that part of it is that it's okay to want to make a change, and it's okay to make a change, and it'll be fine, that you'll be fine, right? You have your skills, you own your own brain, and you own your own skills, right? Those hands, those surgical hands are yours, and you can decide what to do with them, that you have agency in that way.
Yeah, no matter what, you've got an incredible skill set. You're one of the rare 400 or 500 newly minted ophthalmologists we make in this country a year. It's a small group. You've got a great brain, a great knowledge base. You got great hands, and that skill set, you will for sure be successful in anything that you do with ophthalmology. Do not worry.
Exactly. You just have to make sure your moral compass is pointed in the right direction, and
Yeah.
that you're treating people well,
Right.
and that you do the right thing. And whether that's, of course, your family, right? Remember not to neglect your family. I think that's really important. And that's so easy for us as surgeons, right? Throughout the day, you're like, me. Like it's all about me. And then, you go home and you're making dinner, and then your husband says, I'm not one of your surgical assistants. Okay.
Right. I
Like,
know. Yeah.
like you're in the kitchen, you're like, oh yeah. He's like, no, you're asking for things to be passed to you like you're in the OR. It's like, and it's okay if it doesn't happen immediately, right? No one's going to go blind here. Like we're talking,
Right.
like
Yeah.
we're talking about roasting a chicken.
Yeah. Not reconstructing an anterior segment here. Just roasting chicken.
So I think it's important to, as I said, to realize that, the balance in your life, and to make time for, I think making time for exercise is really important, because it helps you, maintain your physical health, which is important for your mental and your emotional well-being as well. And I think that's something that's undervalued. People like,
Sure.
oh, I don't have time to exercise. Like, well,
Yeah.
you need to make the time, right? You need
Yeah.
to
Sure.
figure out how to make the time. And whatever it is, I mean, you could walk for half an hour.
Right.
It
Right. Right.
Like, it doesn't have to be something fancy, right?
But yeah,
Just
putting it in the schedule, I think, was a game changer for me. So I
Mhm.
literally put it in the schedule as a thing to do,
Yes.
as opposed to like, well, if I have free time, but no, it's in the schedule. It's a thing.
Yeah.
So
Yes. Really, really important.
yeah, that time management was one thing I was really poor at. Gosh, in my 30s, I was just pedal to the metal for work. I even did a Saturday clinic. It was supposed to be Saturday mornings. It always went to like 3 p.m. the morning.
Right.
And
I
so
know.
it's like, what am I doing here? It's like, at some point, yeah, your kids grow up so fast. I can't believe that, I come home and like my kids live in other states.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, it's a quiet house now.
Same here. Yeah. Our three kids live in other states. And also, I guess, realizing that there's that time too, is whatever time it is that, I mean, yeah, you could do that extra cataract or have that extra day of surgery, or you could have an extended visit with one or more of your children, and that's time that you don't get back, right?
Yeah. And there are opportunities because as your kids grow up and do their own thing, they don't have as much time for you anymore. So
Exactly.
it's
Yeah,
it's
I was fortunate this summer. I was an invited speaker to the AUSCRS meeting, which is such a fun meeting, like so much fun. And our youngest daughter is, she's now in her third year of law school. She was doing a summer job in DC. She was finishing her job around the time of the meeting. And so basically what happened was, I was at the meeting. I ended up staying for an extra few days. She flew over and met me in Sydney. And then we had a little over 2 weeks together, just traveling in Australia.
awesome.
Yeah, so we went hiking and snorkeling and swam in a billabong, and did all these fun adventures. Saw creepy snakes and large spiders, and
Yeah, there's a lot of that in Australia. I see. I've noticed.
we
So,
climbed the Sydney Bridge.
yeah, the
There's
beach
the Harbour
climbing.
Bridge, yeah, the bridge climb, and just had this amazing time together. And it was just so nice to make that time and to have that time. And similarly, about a little over a year ago, my son was finishing medical school, and he was able to get approved for a global health rotation to spend time with me in Ghana.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, and so we spent a month traveling in Ghana together. I was doing my ophthalmology work. I was doing a cornea needs assessment in different areas in Ghana, and training surgeons in cornea transplant surgery, and doing some. I did a cataract outreach as part of that, and so he did some different internal medicine training. But that time, that we had. Right. And now he's in his second year of residency in internal medicine in New York. But like that time that you have with your kids when they're in their 20s, that's time, again, you don't get back. And that's really special. And you can kind of look back on that as this amazing opportunity and experience. And so that if there are those opportunities that you have to spend, again, whether it's with your partner or your, one or more of your kids or family member, I mean, it's such a special time to be able to do that. And also, if you can combine, some ophthalmology and then make time afterwards, that's separate time. I think, time is it's our most precious commodity. So we need to make the most of it.
Yes, and that I became acutely aware of, like I said, after age 50, like my most valuable assets, time and happiness.
Exactly.
That's what I got to channel. Now, about the trip in Ghana, how does a young ophthalmologist, let's say 30s or 40s in practice, say, I'd like to try one of these trips? How do they get involved?
I think that the best way is probably contacting through through now here I go again, HCP.
Blindness.
Now, Cure Blindness Project. Okay. Cure Blindness Project is one of the groups that does, well, I'm going to back up. There's different types of ways that you can participate in outreach work. There's domestic opportunities and international opportunities. And for international opportunities, there's some things like with Cure Blindness Project, we're training surgeons to have. And then there's also other groups that do more of what they call traditionally mission work, which means volunteering, usually doing a bunch of cataract surgery, and then helping with backlogs, and all has value, right? There's a huge backlog of cataract blindness in the world, and so it's helpful to be able to participate, go cure blindness or glaucoma and such. And then there's ongoing projects of surgeon training and curriculum development. And so part of that is to decide what the commitment level is and what you're interested in doing. And that can be different for everybody, and also how flexible a person is, right? If you're operating in a lower middle income country that's under-resourced, you're under-resourced. So you're not in your own OR. You're maybe working with some equipment that may or may not work. There's instruments that you have to get very, very creative.
Sure.
What you do, and that's okay. And it's also okay if you're not one of those people who's comfortable. I mean, there's people I've traveled with some other surgeons, some who've been comfortable and some who have said, yeah, not for me. And that's okay. Like either of that's okay. But I think part of that is to decide what type of experience, what you're looking to contribute, what you're looking to get out of it, and how to make the most of that. And so I think that's probably the first question to ask.
Right.
And then there's a number of organizations around that can, you can participate in different ways. And again, it just depends on what, like your own comfort level, what you are expecting to both give and get out of the experience, and and the amount of time you have.
Right. It's really a challenge. I've done one trips used to be the Hawaiian Eye Foundation, now became the Eye Mission of the Pacific.
Yeah.
And some of these trips, like you'll go to a very remote place like Tonga in the middle of the South Pacific, next to Fiji and Samoa. And there's essentially no ophthalmologist for the country.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe there's one. And so as a result, you go there and I basically just did a lot of surgery. But the challenge is what you said. I went there, especially when I was younger, a little too proud, a little too confident, because you think you have these great skills, but now you have equipment that's like, well, I've never seen this phaco machine. And they said, yeah, it was made 20 years ago. And now you're the instrument yet. Like, well, you may have to MacGyver something. You may have to like figure something out here. And then the patients are the sweetest, most appreciative, but they have the most advanced pathology. Like you look at that cataract, which is a rock, that surgery should have been done 10 years ago. So it really tests your mettle as a surgeon.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was a really great growth experience. It brought me a lot more humbleness. And you can learn neat things like doing M6, manual small incision cataract surgery, which is for a brunescent cataract. It's been shown in all these things. It's much better than phaco.
So much better. So much better. Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of situations that you look at and you go, okay, well, I always think of it as like, here are your 3 tools. Like you have a roll of duct tape, right? A cotton swab and a piece of dental floss or something like that. Like, that's what you got. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. I had recently, I was in Eritrea, which is really interesting country. They have their first ever ophthalmology training program. Super exciting. There's actually now a new set of residents, but the first 3 who are getting into their clinical training are amazing. They're bright, they're motivated, they want to learn. And spending time in the OR with them was so special. And we did some cataracts. I was there. I had gotten some corneas I brought with me to Eritrea from Ethiopia because Ethiopia has an eye bank. And so I brought corneas. And so the first thing was screening patients, a certain number of corneas, and okay, who gets those? Right.
Right.
Who gets the corneas? And so part of that is decision making. Okay, who has bilateral blindness? What's the prognosis? Is it a good prognosis? Is it a younger person? And these are are they available for follow-up?
Right.
And there's all these other things that you don't often think about that come into play when you are doing surgery like cornea transplants in under-resourced areas. And I remember one little boy, he was about maybe 8. I want to say he was from a Bedouin, or not Bedouin, he was from some tribe that was, they just migrated. It was like the Bedouins, but he wasn't Bedouin because it was in Eritrea. So sorry about that. But he was in a nomadic, is what I meant. He's in a nomadic tribe. And so he's this little boy in a nomadic tribe. And he comes in because he had a stick injury to an eye, because of course he's a boy. It's always a boy with a stick injury to an eye. And he had a perforated cornea. It was a small perforation. And doing a cornea transplant on him wouldn't necessarily be a great idea because he's in a nomadic tribe, right? There's no follow-up at all. And it was small enough that I thought, okay, I think I can glue it. Sounds great, right? Except for a couple things like lack of specific corneal glue and no bandage contact lenses. So you do what you can. So there is cyanoacrylate glue available, and you can use it in a pinch. And so I took a sterile drape and I cut a really, really small piece of very, very thin sterile drape to patch the little perforation, put some glue on top of that. First made sure the area was clean. This was under general anesthesia in the OR, obviously. So, and then I didn't have a bandage lens. So with a tree fine, I cut a circular area, like I did like an 8mm area of sterile thin drape to use as a bandage lens.
Oh, interesting.
Right. And then we patched the eye and let it set for like 72 hours. And I said, okay, don't do anything because I know it's not going to be infected. I'm pretty sure of that. And the glue is going to prevent anything. And it was formed at the end of the case. I saw the AC formed.
Nice.
So I thought, okay, fingers crossed when we take this off in a couple days. And sure enough, it had sealed in a few days. But that's what I mean is that you think, okay, yeah, oh no, I would just do this for that. Well, okay.
You don't have that. Yeah.
You don't have that. So what do? Or you don't have a particular instrument. So you take an instrument that's close and maybe with a hemostat, you could kind of, bend it a little bit to do what you want, right?
It's true.
Well, okay, this is what I have. Let's see what's sterile, what's going to be safe.
Right.
Yes, we have a vitrectomy machine. Great. Can I have the vitrector, please? Okay, but it's not working. Like they have the machine, but it's not working. So you're like, okay, that's fine. We'll just do a WEC vitrectomy.
You do what you got to do.
right? That's what you have. You have a pair of Westcott scissors and you've got some Muracell or whatever they are, some kind of sponge. Or sometimes you have cotton swabs and a scissor.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you have, actually, there is a retinal scissor, so you make it cut as fast as you can.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah,
Yeah,
and a
for
retinal
sure.
scissor. So I'm like, okay, how fast can I make my fingers move here?
You
That'll
can
be my detractor.
you could probably get a couple hundred cuts a minute.
You can, yeah, you can. I mean, you think about it, right? You're like,
I can do like I probably do 3 or 4 a second.
yeah.
So
So
maybe,
it's,
yeah, reasonable.
yeah. So right, you just make do with what you have, and um, you just have to be comfortable with that too. And that's so, like, that's what I mean by you're using your brain in different ways, and you're being flexible, and you're trying to do the best that you have. And just like anything else, right? Just like on our I always said this about our board exams, you make the best strategic guesses with less than perfect information
Yeah, it's true. That is absolutely true.
in life.
Right. I always look at those multiple choice questions. I was like, I don't really know, but for some reason I like this answer. Like, let's just go
Yeah.
with that. There's a
Which
reason why my brain likes it. Just go with it.
it's the best strategic guess with less than perfect information.
Yeah, no, exactly. Or it's similar. We had a bunch of IOLs that were donated, and they donated a bunch of cartridges to the injector cartridges, but no injectors. So it's like, okay, so we got to fashion an injector. So, what's long and thin? We found some spinal needles, other part of the hospital, long needles. They're
Great.
sterile. Let me
Yeah.
just with the hemostats. Let me just bend the tip so it's not so sharp,
Right.
and create a pushing platform on
Like,
it.
push it. Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
great.
and then you got to do all that stuff. Oh, I think it's great. I certainly encourage any young ophthalmologist, if you have any interest in this, just do it. Even if you don't think you have the skills, you say, I don't know how to do M6. I promise on the trip, they will teach you.
Yes.
And you
You're
have the
right.
skills to learn it.
By the end of the trip, you will know.
Yeah, and just the happiness that it brought to patients was just mind-blowing. I mean, just you've changed their lives forever. Sometimes people don't realize on these trips, they're people have seeing eye kids.
Yes.
So blind grandma or grandpa has a stick. On the end of the stick, they have like a 5-year-old who holds the other end and leads them around.
Exactly.
By fixing that cataract, which you can do in 10 minutes, you freed that kid up. The kid can enjoy now.
Yeah. I mean, you change not just lives, but communities.
Right. For sure. And you can also, as you said earlier, you can actually do a lot of this charity stuff even here in the US. There's plenty of need.
Yeah, there's through ASCRS, there's the foundation, and you can sign up. And there's certainly plenty of people here in our own country that could benefit from, there's basically a lot of under-resourced communities right where we live in our both cities and rural areas. People who don't access care, cannot access care, it's difficult for them. But providing them with a surgery, especially a cataract surgery, you can provide them with their sight back, and at least some degree of sight, and then, help them help them with a job, or,
Right.
whatever it is. I remember this was a while ago. I wasn't in practice very long, and a young woman came to see me. She was in her 20s. She was a super high myop. She was like a minus 20 or something.
Okay.
Hadn't been able to wear contact lenses. She had had a couple of corneal ulcers and had some scars, not terrible scars, but scars. Wasn't able to tolerate the contact lenses anymore. And, she's a minus 20. And her glasses were, it's like so difficult. And at that time, this was before ICL. Okay. This was like, or ICL had maybe just come out, but it was up to minus 16. But the Verisize lens,
Iris claw.
the Iris Claw lens went up to a minus 20. And this was probably in about the early 2000s. So this is like early 2000s. iris claw lens is available. And I got the company to donate. I actually approached the company and said, I have this young woman, here's her story.
Mhm.
And she's minus 20. And, her life is terrible. And she has, a small child, and she has no resources. So they donated the lenses. I donated my services to put in these minus 20 lenses in to correct her refractive error. And it completely changed her life, like completely changed her life. She was able to see her kid for the first time. She got a driver's license, right? She was able to then get a job and drive. And we don't think of refractive error as being a blinding condition, but it's the number one cause of blindness worldwide, globally. And
Yeah,
and
I get it. Yeah.
and you think about that. I mean, that's a simple thing. You think, well, oh, it's just, why can't you use glasses or something? Well, you try to use glasses as a minus 20, myope.
Yeah, that's like image minification so much that like, and then what a narrow field of view, and if
Yeah.
those are
And then
heavy glasses.
heavy glasses. Yeah. She just like, she couldn't tolerate them. And then, she'd have the contact lens infections. And so that was, just one local case, right? And there's certainly plenty of cataracts, especially a lot in immigrant communities, people who come over from different countries and they haven't gotten health care in however many years. And, you see them. And then I did a case, a woman from Ethiopia who I saw here in Seattle, and she had some corneal scarring, dense cataracts, but her daughter told me that she actually was able to see okay, like fairly well, or well enough to, get around and do things, even with her corneal scarring, presumably, before her cataracts developed. So I ended up doing like an M6 on her,
Mhm.
with a chandelier technique, with an external light pipe, because I couldn't really see that well through the cornea. But it's a lot easier to do an M6 if you can't see through the cornea,
Sure.
right? Safer. And so I did that and got an IOL in, and she improved from light perception to, it was like 2200 or something like that. But what a huge difference in her
Wow.
life,
You
right?
could function. You'd function at 2200.
Exactly. You can have ambulatory vision at
Yeah.
2200. And that made just the world of difference for her. So that's, so there's those things too, or even domestically, there's plenty of patients from under-resourced communities right here where we live, that can benefit from our skills.
Yeah, sometimes I think maybe I should. We've got such a great skill set, and I think maybe I should be working 5, 6 days a week so I can do more and more surgery, help more people. But then, as you said, the work balance, the work-life balance, you got to figure something out.
You have to, yeah, because if you spend too much time on work and too much mental energy there, then you don't have enough time to regroup and rest and recover. And having enough time for yourself and whatever else, and whoever else you want to have time with, makes you a better doctor. Right. Like
Oh,
I could say, like, I'm a great surgeon normally, like 4 days a week. I'm a fabulous surgeon. Right.
right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like I know for me, for a great day of surgery the night before, I got to sleep early. I got to have my weighted blanket. I got a routine I got to do, and just that helps me. So
Right.
no, for sure. For
So you
sure.
have to, yeah, you have to decide on, again, like what's important to you, and how you can function the best. If you're working all the time, that's
Uh,
not necessarily functioning at your optimum. I mean, when I go away and I'm working like in India or Nepal or Ghana or wherever, they're really, really long days. And I'm working, day after day after day. And that's fine because it's just like adrenaline high or whatever, you're on it and you're like ready to go. But then after that, I always need,
2 days.
I
Yeah.
need like, even after being in like India and Nepal and really busy, I like a day at the end of my trip where I stay in a nice place. Maybe I go shopping or to a spa or something like in Delhi, right? I'll stay like, I'll be like, okay, I just want like a day where almost I don't leave my hotel room. It's nice here,
Right.
or something like that. Or I pop over in London for a couple days after my trip to just, regroup.
Yeah, I do the same thing for sure. So even if I'm on the lecture circuit like you, I'll book in a few extra days or even a lot extra days for just some enjoyment.
Yeah, you have
It's
to, because it's
yeah,
silly. I think it's unfortunate when people like go somewhere and they're like, yes, I'm going to go to this meeting. I'm going to go there for 48 hours. I'm going to give my lecture. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to leave. You're like, well, you could be anywhere, right? You
yeah.
could be
That was me when I was in my 30s and even early 40s. That was me. Fly in, spend more time in the air than on the ground.
right. Exactly. And
That was crazy.
I mean, part of it is also getting to know our colleagues um, internationally, right?
Right.
And now having friends all over the world is so special, and making that time and having that time to share a meal, to break bread, to do whatever it is. And it's really just so joyful. I told you I was at AUS recently, and that was super fun. And then I was in Sydney. I was actually had a few days before waiting for my daughter to arrive. And I met some German colleagues at the AUS meeting, and they were in Sydney too. And so then we ended up spending a day. We went hiking, and
Oh,
we shared ice cream together and dinner. And then another friend of mine that I met last time I was at AUS, he and his wife, Gerard and Gina Sutton, invited me and my daughter to dinner. And so with their daughter, and it was just so great to, have that time together where you have, you form your meaningful friendships.
yeah.
And I think ophthalmology, it just really allows us, or I mean, I feel really fortunate. It's just allowed me to be a part of, the world in a different place, and to meet people and have experiences and opportunities that I wouldn't, I think, ordinarily have had. And
Yeah, ophthalmology is a really special and very special subspecialty. It's really amazing. It's a small family. The friends you make. I was in the ESCRS recently in Barcelona, and
yeah,
I booked a separate day after the meeting where I took a bunch of ophthalmologists and we arranged a private wine tour in Catalan countryside. I'm like, it's a pleasure to bond with these fellow ophthalmologists. What a life.
that's so great. I mean, that's what it's all about, really, right? And a lot of times that's where, some of the best ideas come from too.
Right. In fact, they did. It was we obviously talked a lot of ophthalmology, but it was a global thing. I had an Argentinian ophthalmologist, a Brazilian one, an Indian one, American. I was covering all corners of the globe, and we just had a fantastic time. And it was very special. But yeah, similarly, I was in Australia giving lectures last month, and it was one week in one city, one week in another. So the week between, I just booked 4 days in Manly Beach, which is my favorite part of Sydney.
It's so beautiful. Yeah, that's where I went with the Beckers, with Lena and David Becker. So
Oh,
that's
but
where,
I probably did the Manly to Spit Bridge hike.
yes. So we did the hike there, and that was super fun. We just had such a great time, and we had ice cream, and we took the boat back, and had a nice dinner with also colleagues, in Sydney, and it was so much fun. It was just great.
Yeah, I know for sure. So that's a good way of balancing it out. So
It
I
is.
wish you the best of success with your new practice. I have no doubt you'll be incredibly successful. And I love that you're like, you know what? Let me take a year sabbatical, and now I'm gonna go back to it with a newfound energy. And oh, you're gonna crush it. I love it.
Oh, thanks, Uday. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I think it's been a new adventure. And fortunately, my husband's in finance. He's a CFO, and he's helping with the financial aspects and the business plan of my practice. So I'm very fortunate there.
Nice.
And yeah, we'll see how it goes. But it's nice to have a new project to work on, and to, it's not too late to do a change. And I guess that's the main message for
Right.
ophthalmologists in your 30s and 40s. If it's not working for you, that's okay. Switch gears. Don't wait, because if you wait another year or 2 years or 5 years and you're still having the same conversation about being stuck,
Mhm.
that's on you.
Right. And even in your 50s and 60s, okay to change gears still.
Okay to change
Absolutely.
gears as well. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's your life. You only get one.
Yep. And if we take your advice and incorporate that exercise, we'll add a few more years so that you can, have
There
a
you go.
longer journey. Yeah, absolutely.
That's
Well, I
right.
want to thank you again. What a pleasure just talking to you. The hour went by like this. I can't even believe it.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Uday. It was great to chat.
Oh, my pleasure to have you. I'll give a link below, whatever links you want me to put there, maybe your social media, maybe people can contact you or direct message you if they have a
Sure.
question, want to reach out. And
Absolutely.
then certainly we can link any of your work with these projects as well, so that the young ophthalmologists can check that out.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Awesome. All right. Now, and if you have any surgical video you want us to feature on Cataract Coach, I always offer on any of my podcast guests, you can send me any video you want. I promise I'll feature it. Anything about 5 minutes long. Just think about it. And then finally, I want to remind our listeners and viewers, remember, we got a new podcast every single week. It's on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google. Anywhere you find your podcast, you find the CataractCoach podcast, which is now the top podcast in all of ophthalmology. Plus, of course, we have a new CataractCoach video every single day, no matter what. And if you're a young ophthalmologist still learning, no matter where you are in the world, you have a free curriculum series, a 25-part video curriculum series of how to learn phaco. And there's a free Cataract Coach PDF book. Just go to CataractCoach.com and download it. It's yours. Anyway, until next time, we'll check you later.